Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud. Now, this one's kind of a huge, I think the reason why I have both of these guys combined, like I'm scouting each of the top 5 quarterbacks. So we have Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, right? But I put Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud in the same topic because I think in my list, it would go Bryce Young 1, CJ Stroud number 2, Anthony Richardson number 3. And to all the people that are coming into the comments, I apologize. I rescheduled this show so many times. I really didn't even advertise it that much. So whatever, you guys. So I will do better at that next time. But I needed to go live. So whether there are people in here or not, I need to pop out that content. But back to Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud. The big difference, I think, with these two, and again, there were quarterbacks at the combine today that we are like the combine. It goes from Thursday to Monday afternoon, I think. No, Thursday to Sunday afternoon. The combine goes from Thursday, to Sunday. Sorry, guys. The combine goes from Thursday to Sunday afternoon, and basically the quarterbacks were throwing today, doing all of their drills today and whatever. And I think my big thing with Anthony Richardson is very athletic. This guy broke a record for the high jump. So at the combine, they do, as everyone knows, they do the high jump. And Anthony Richardson broke a record for the high jump, and his 40-yard dash was a 4.439, I think, 4.39, 40-yard dash. Really good for a quarterback. His size. This guy is 6'5". I think he's like 235, something like that. For his size, a 4.39, he had the fastest 40 time out of any quarterback in the NFL. So very impressive in this year's draft. Very impressive for somebody his size. So I think the tangibles for tangibles for Anthony Richardson are there. I think he has size, athleticism, everything else. But then when they get to like some of the throwing drills, I think both of these guys had great combines. But I think CJ Stroud, when they got to the throwing drills, is a much better thrower. I think Anthony Richardson has more of the tangibles, like athletic tangibles. But I would think that, I think CJ Stroud is a lot better of a pure thrower. You know, when they got up to the throwing drills in general, I'm just quickly looking at my notes here because I was taking a lot of notes in this draft. I think when they got up to the throwing drills, I think all of CJ Stroud's throws were on time. They were he would set his feet and transfer his weight and throw a perfect bullet. That's what you want. There were no inaccurate passes, especially in the red zone. Like they were doing this red zone drill. And none of CJ Stroud's passes were floaters. They were like with perfect touch every time. So I'm not saying CJ Stroud is going to be is going to be a Hall of Famer one day, but man, he has talent. Man, he has talent at throwing the football. He also has a great arm. I mean, they were doing deep ball accuracy. Now, Anthony Richardson, really, really good arm. Really, really good deep ball, which I think you guys all know if you have watched Anthony Richardson. You guys all know that he has a great deep ball. That's one of the strengths of his game. So both guys have a really good deep ball. I think CJ Stroud is way better mechanics. Again, like I said with Anthony Richardson, when he loads up, he tends to twerk his arm a little too forward, and that leads to some inaccuracies. So I think CJ Stroud, a lot better mechanics, transfers his weight on his feet better. And there's a reason why Anthony Richardson had just above a 50% completion rate in college. It's because intermediate passes, sorry guys, intermediate passes Anthony Richardson wasn't as good at, because you have to have mechanics. You have to have touch on intermediate passes. And I think Anthony Richardson needs to work on that. He does. So I think Stroud is more of the, how would I say this? He's more of the complete prospect. The way he loads up his feet and really delivers that ball on time with accuracy is a strength of his. Has a good deep ball. Both quarterbacks have really good deep balls. So as a good deep ball, CJ Stroud, I think CJ Stroud is going to go to the Indianapolis Colts at number 4. So I think it's going to be Bryce Young to the Texans at 2, Indianapolis at 4. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I think CJ Stroud, a lot of teams are looking for, and I won't spend too much longer on this, but a lot of teams are looking for, a more finished product. CJ Stroud has started, I believe, 3 years at Ohio State. And I mean, his completion rate has been good every year. It's just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things to like about CJ Stroud that maybe Richardson doesn't have. And again, I look at the film against Georgia. CJ Stroud versus Georgia went 23. Now, keep in mind, Georgia is a back-to-back national champion. So they're good. They have the best team in the nation in college football. And every year, Georgia's sending NFL level talent, like NFL level prospects, to the draft. So if you're a person and you're scouting different NFL quarterbacks, you want to see how they did if they played Georgia. You want to see how they did against Georgia. And CJ Stroud, obviously in the semifinals of the NCAA playoffs, or of the college football playoffs, did great against Georgia. 23 for 34, 348 yards, 4 TDs. You watch him in that game, the ball came out on time. He was getting the ball out quick. And when he did have time, he was dicing up that Georgia defense. And he was not the reason why Ohio State lost. If you guys remember, the Ohio State kicker missed a kick at the end of the game to lose Ohio State the game, which it would have won them that game. So they ended up losing that game, but CJ Stroud played almost perfect. Went over, I think 70% completion rate. So CJ Stroud, again, in the biggest moments, has performed, has the arm accuracy. I think Indianapolis Colts take him at 4. Now, with Anthony Richardson, it's a different story. I think you have, so after that, you have Seattle, Detroit, Las Vegas Raiders, Falcons, and Carolina Panthers. I think if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you're the Detroit Lions, both of those teams are looking to trade out of the 5th and 6th pick. Here's my reasoning for it, okay? Seattle, I think it's in their best interest right now to get as many picks as possible. And let's say both Carolina and the Atlanta Falcons are at pick number 8, Carolina is at pick number 9, and Seattle's at pick number 5. They both want to trade up to Seattle's pick because they both Atlanta and the Panthers are afraid that either Detroit, the Las Vegas Raiders, or the Atlanta Falcons or the Carolina Panthers are going to pick the quarterback that they want. So I think if you're Seattle, you are going to trade out of that number 5 pick. You're going to trade down. And right now, let's assume that they re-sign Geno Smith. It's not that urgent to get a quarterback right now. So unless you direly need a quarterback at pick number 5, I think the Seahawks trade down. And both the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, we know, are going to be looking to trade up to get a quarterback because they both are quarterback needy. So I think it's going to be a bidding war. And I think the Seattle Seahawks have a lot of potential to get a lot of picks by trading down in this draft. So without further ado, I think Anthony Richardson does go to the Carolina Panthers. Here's my reasoning for that. The Falcons have the second most cap space in the NFL behind the Bears. And so I think the Falcons are going to be looking more to get a quarterback through free agency, more like a guy like Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that, okay? The Panthers have the 22nd most, like the 20 they have the 22nd most free agency cap space, which is terrible. The Panthers are actually over the cap. Basically, over the cap means that you don't have any money to spend and you actually need to get rid of some players to make some money happen. Like, the Panthers do not have any money. So they can't go get a quarterback in free agency. So their only option is to draft one in the NFL draft. And so I think if you're the Carolina Panthers, you trade up to that Seattle Seahawks.